streets outside. On Saturday we slide. Would you take my side? Could you be my guy? Mr. Robinson is bright. A vote for him is right. Would you be mine? Could you be mine? My neighbor type. Through the highs and lows and field is where the love still grows. The streets are calling loud. We're laughing through the crowd. Hand in hand we'll fly underneath the sky. Mr. Robinson is bright. A vote for him is right. Would you be mine? Could you be mine? My neighbor type. Through the highs and lows and field is where the love still grows.
Yo, what's up, y'all? What it do, what it don't, what it ain't, what it is, what it ain't gonna be. What's up? It's your boy Mayor Mondell Robinson, and as you see, I am back in my seat. I am at the Resolute desk, not in the Oval Office, but in my office. And none of what you've heard and none of what you see is real, except for what you're hearing and seeing right now. This is the realest spot to get politics local to Halifax County, statewide to North Carolina, and national to the United States of America. And then sometimes when we're screaming on behalf of people who are marginalized, even international. And what I mean by that is Cuba needs to be normalized and America needs to stop its continued faction war against Cuba. Secondly, Palestine. We need peace for Palestine. And Benjamin Netanyahu needs to be jailed. That's a real thing. Those are real things. But tonight, I want to talk about a couple of things, but I really want to talk about political through lines because I told you all there were some issues that we needed to address about what's expected or not expected from those of us that call ourselves Black leaders. So I want to talk about political through lines that we find ourselves dealing with in 2026 and how we address them so that we don't allow this moment to fall short on what it could be versus what we have and what we're dealing with in this moment. So if you are here, if you can hear me, share. If you can hear me, share this live right now. If you can hear me, share this live right now. Don't forget to like and subscribe because it's about to get important. Those through lines I was telling y'all about that are so important to this moment where we find ourselves right now is that Donald Trump, his administration, and Republicans all over this country continue to narrow the access to the ballot from Black people, while at the same time, we hear Black people screaming things that are antithetical to the ability for us to get more of us to vote. While Blackness is being attacked, while people who speak up on behalf of Black people are being demonized. We'll get into that. We've seen a lot of that locally lately. While people who speak up loudly against racism or practices that would exclude Black people from having a seat at the table being demonized. We'll get into that later. The Democratic Party is being criticized for a lot of things. We'll get into that. That is extremely important. The fact that Black voters are really being ticked off by some of the Democratic moves. but we'll get into that too. Matter of fact, I keep saying we're gonna get into it. I need to write it down so I don't forget to get into it. Cause y'all know I'll start running my mouth and we won't get into it. We'll have a whole nother conversation. So I said we're gonna talk about narrowing the ballot box. We're gonna talk about it. We're gonna talk about what's expected of black leadership. Democratic Party and respect for the black vote. Whoo, definitely need to talk about that. We also need to talk about the fact that black unemployment is still rising. The black dollar is worth less. And also how people that mean us no well or no good will try and mislead us to pretend or gaslight us. I think that's what the young people say. They gaslighting us. So we're gonna talk about how we don't get gaslit in this moment, and we just call a spade a spade, a spade a spade, a spade a spade, a spade a spade. Let's get serious about that. Let's get serious about that. Also, if you see me on live, the worst thing you could do is give me a call. That has to be like the most selfish thing in the world. I'm on live, and then you know I'm on live, and you call me, because what you're gonna do is you're gonna actually disrupt the stream. So don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that. And that comment's for my brother who just called me. So I ain't talking about no friends. I'm talking about my brother. Why are you calling me when you know I'm on live? And if you don't know, you should know, because everybody should have their notifications set that the black man with the big mouth is talking again. So let's get into it, y'all. I want to start. Normally I start local and then expand. But the name of the live is All Politics is Local, and they ain't. So I want to talk about that. I want to talk about what that means, what I mean by that. You know, there's a saying, people say all politics are local. And we hear it a lot about what is meant to be all politics are local. Basically what they're saying is everything affects you. Everything that affects you should be your politics is the gist of it. But what is truly meant by that? What is truly meant about the idea that all politics are local? And are they or aren't they? And how do you define local? Because let me break it down to you. If someone says, "Oh, we get our food locally," that's subjective, right? Because in California, is it buying inside of one state? Is that local? Because if it is, the whole coast of California, you can reach from, it's like the same distance as North Carolina to Boston. So if I buy something from Boston, is that local? Because it's the same distance as California, like LA to San Francisco, probably. So this idea of local and politics need to be massaged so that we understand what we're saying, so that we have a definition, so that we make sure that we're talking about the same thing when we're talking about the same thing, so that we're not arguing past each other. So my definition of local should not be defined by what I think and nobody else is aware of. So when people say politics are local, are they? And if they are, what do you mean local? Are you saying what goes on in Raleigh affects Enfield because the legislature's there? Or are you saying what goes on in Raleigh affects Enfield because it's proximity? And if that's the case, then is Charlotte also local? Is Atlanta also local? Is Washington, D.C. local, etc. for the same premises? Is what I want to massage. And I'm going to tell you why I want to do that. Because people can understand more when they understand more. If we have definitions that are spelled out, then we can get busy to making sure that we're saying the same thing or things that we need to say. Right? Let me tell y'all what happened. This has been a busy week. Beyond me being somewhere trying to bring awareness to what it means to be a small town mayor in Enfield specifically. It's been busy politically. We've watched Roanoke Rapids mayor and his wife and other people who would be their friends try to downplay what happened in the language that was being used about black people in that city. We watched that. And then what they thought was, by deleting the page, the Facebook page, I don't know if y'all know this, of the Roanoke Rapids mayor's wife has been basically scrubbed. But it's too late. It's already made a national story. And what happens is when people are called out for their shenanigans, because I would never delete something I say, I'm going to stand by it if I say it and defend it and apologize if I'm wrong. Deleting a page tells me one or two things. You thought your whiteness was going to keep you safe from ridicule. You thought because there was going to be enough people that see the world like you, that you would not get that backlash. We've seen this one too many times where I keep talking about stuff, racial stuff, and people try to pretend that I'm making problems. This week I've been blamed for the county not including infill in conversations about a data center by a white person because they said I'm too aggressive. When in actuality, so this person, people speak like they're experts on this app. Phil Gorham asked a question. I'm gonna be extremely interactive tonight because I don't want anything to go unheard. So I'm gonna pause what I was saying. Let me pause what I was saying. Phil said, if local doesn't mean geographical, why are there so many different jurisdictions and different local governments? Local should not be synonymous with geographics because geology and also political lines really don't determine if people are suffering through the same thing. People in infill and also in Scotland Neck and also in some extent Roanoke Rapids are suffering from light bills being too high, and in Rocky Mount. That does not mean that my charter should determine what is and what ain't right for Roanoke Rapids or Rocky Mount. My charter should govern the boundaries of what is infill, the limits of what infill's financial situation is, to make sure that those people who live inside our jurisdiction can have those services they need to survive and thrive. So geography does not always define like common or shared things. So this is why my argument is that we redefine local to mean more than what's going on in your city, in your county. When I can show you similar problems throughout the entire Black Belt, why wouldn't we consider that a local problem, a regional problem, Easton? Like, so every like the problems in Halifax County look like the problems in the other 5 or 4 majority Black counties in our state. Those are local problems then. Those problems are centralized. Local should be determined, I feel like for me, local should be determined by what affects me and other people in a similar way. And what that does is it empowers the people who are suffering from failed institutions to have bigger numbers and not feel like they are the minority. So if people that are suffering from a too high light bill in North Carolina partner with people that are suffering from a too high light bill in Georgia, in New Mexico, in Arizona, in California, in New York, and all over, and they form, right, the rural Northeastern, North Carolina, for example, and they form a unit, a block, then they have more power than if it's just one small town. I was trying to make this case this week, over the last week, about the fact that what $16 million of investment would mean in infill. And to New York, that's small fries. I just left a conversation with the person who ran, the first Black man who ran the IT department for New York. His budget alone, the city of New York, like not the state of New York, the city, his budget alone for IT was $9 billion. So what I was saying to him was, we talk about New York and Chicago, and I love Brandon Scott and also Johnson. Those are both my brothers, Chicago and Baltimore. And also happy birthday to Brandon Johnson's wife, Mrs. Johnson, and First Lady of Chicago. Happy birthday. I know today's your birthday from mine and me. But what I was saying was, if we keep talking about those examples, it does not benefit everybody in this country. Majority of the people in this country don't live in large cities. Majority of the people in this country live in cities that are 50,000 people or less. So if we take a model that costs $16 million and it works in a small town, and then we say, hey, we can duplicate this in 700 towns, and all of those 700 towns got about 4,000 people. Well, if you do the math, that's about 2.8 million people. So what I mean by that is we can expand this idea of small and local and make sure that we understand that innovation can happen in small spaces and have a massive effect on people, because there's not 600 or 700 cities in this country the size of Chicago or New York or Houston or Atlanta or LA. But there are 600, more than 600, because there's 19,519 municipalities, meaning villages, boroughs, city, towns, etc., in this country that are incorporated. And they look more like Enfield than they do those other cities. So whatever we do that's duplicable or replicable throughout this country becomes a wonderful example on why local should not be geography. That's why. That's what I believe, Phil. So what I was saying was, we've watched people, my neighbor telling me I want to be white, then the mayor's wife in Roanoke Rapids saying that black people ruin Roanoke Rapids. And now a white person in Roanoke Rapids saying that I'm the reason that that Enfield was not included in the conversation, because he wanted to tell me what it looks like to sit across the table from a multinational entity, as if he's done it before. Then we find out from some of his past tenants that he overcharged people so that he can keep their deposit. That's exploitive. People are leaving an apartment. There should be expectation of general cleaning. Matter of fact, it should be the law that you have to clean, because you don't want the next person to move in. And I'm not saying that anybody had anything wrong with them, but the disinfecting stage of removing someone and putting someone else in a place requires a cleaning. That should be standard case of business. But we saw you nickel and dime someone, judging from that receipt, allegedly, so that you could keep their $1,000 or $1,500 bonus, deposit. Where's the outrage from that? So what we've seen is this capacity to try to put old chains and rings and holes on black leadership, and say that if you're loud, then you're unprofessional. But isn't racism unprofessional? Isn't racism unprofessional? Isn't doing something for part of the district and excluding another part of the district, talking about the county of Halifax, isn't that unprofessional? Shouldn't it be unprofessional to continue to starve the residents of Enfield from resources that could benefit us, simply because you guys want to hold them for yourself? Shouldn't it be considered unprofessional to know that, going back to Jim's statement, that you can't bully these organizations into doing you what you want? That tells me that Jim person has never been in a real negotiation. The only way you negotiate is with force and from a position of power, understanding what is yours, what you have, and what position you have. The minute you forget that the point you negotiate from is a point of power, you're no longer negotiating from a winning stance. Every negotiation is aggressive. It is so funny to me that white people want to call or make me aggressive, but they don't have this language for Donald Trump, who put his finger in the face of our allies and spit in their face, who gets on the phone who swear he's the best negotiator in the world and then don't even know how to negotiate. Instead, he threatened to bomb allies when they don't do what he says. That's y'all president, though. That's his tactic. That's his negotiating tactic. So when I say that my people will not sit silent and allow you all to put a data center in our town or right outside of our town, and we don't benefit and we're not a part of the conversation, I'm seen as hostile because I said fuck it or hell no. The hostility is my language. The thing that needs to be policed is my language, not the act of excluding us for more than a year to be in secret conversations about our resources, about our health, about our quality of life. I know that does not give me the right to be angry, upset, pissed off. on behalf of my people? I don't get that. See, this is what I'm trying to tell y'all. You got to watch what you give them, the space that you give them, the grace that people say. That's why when people say, well, you might not agree with how Mundell said it, I want to know, how do you want Mundell to say that these people are stepping on our shoulders and keeping our breath and face in the mud while they all eat? How do you want me to say it? How nice do I need to be to say, please, master, get off my back? I don't speak like that. You want me to beg? I'd love to be at your show. I don't speak like that. It ain't in my DNA to bend down to racism. And the fact that any of you or all of you are offended by what I say and do, whether you're black or white, tells me that you've bought into white supremacy in a way that's dangerous to my people. And I shall not, and I do not sit silent or idle while you do it. These are our truths that we need to get real comfortable with, because I'm telling you now, it does not get easier. They said they will kill you and tell people you liked it if you're not screaming about it. So I'm always screaming about it. Let me tell y'all what they did in Enfield today. And my people, y'all might not even heard this, or this week I've been gone, y'all might have heard it. The North Carolina Republicans are basically trying to erase black votes and our access to the ballot box. They really are. Enfield districts have been closed. The polling location at Halifax Electric is gone. The polling location at First Baptist Church is gone. They did away with them. We only can vote in Enfield at St. Paul Church. Everybody will vote at the same location. Don't tell me they are not trying to slow us down and prevent us from having access to the ballot. They know that we are some of the poorest people in the county. Our town is. Our people have to work hourly pay. So if you close 2 locations and leave one and make that one a new polling location, you create enough chaos and also enough time to slow down the vote that people might not participate. They didn't stop there, y'all. They definitely closed those locations. That ain't it. They closed locations in black and young people's places all over the state. 20 counties lost Sunday voting. Why did they lose Sunday voting? Because souls to the poll is something that black people do more than anybody else. Souls to the poll was taken away from 20 counties for no other reason other than Republicans redrew it. Republicans should not have access to control the Board of Elections. For the history of our country, the Board of Elections was controlled by whoever the governor was. The minute a Democratic won governor, they changed those rules. The Republicans at the state legislature changed those rules and said that the state auditor's party will be those in charge of the Board of Elections so that they can do exactly what Donald Trump needs them to do. It's happening right now, guys. Republicans control all 100 county boards. They are the majority. And let me tell you something. They are striking down black political power with surgical precision. It was not enough that they redrew a district and took 300 people, black people, out of the 1st congressional district. But they're going to tell you I'm unprofessional. They're going to tell you my words are unprofessional. Not these people redrawing districts to do harm, to crack and stack and pack districts. The Republicans, who happen to be all white at the state legislature, they're not unprofessional in their suits and ties. We saw this. It's the same behavior. Tuskegee University telling black women and boys they can't show up with do-rags and bonnets. But guess how many students from Tuskegee with those bonnets and do-rags on were implicated in that college cocaine drug bust? None. They were all white students from Penn State. And they all showed up in court with suits and ties on. And ain't nobody saying nothing about that. But you want to police blackness in this way. They are closing districts. And ain't nobody called these people unprofessional. Republicans are drawing a district or drawing a state in a manner that is precisely, and like I said, with surgical precision, destroying black voting power. And I still got people talking about their votes don't matter. Did you hear what I said? Starting this election cycle, less than 70 some days away, people got to learn where they're going to vote. Because they closed 2 precincts. Any of the precincts you think you voted at in Enfield, you cannot anymore. You have to go to St. Paul's, 421 South McDaniel Street. Y'all make sure y'all share that sentiment often, because they are trying to make sure that less of us are voting. The minute, y'all, listen to this. Since I came on the scene, this is not me being arrogant. This is political data. Since those people who are watching from anonymous screens, from those people who don't want us to know that they are here, but they will have something to say about it. Since I've come on the scene, we've outperformed. Enfield has outperformed any race ever before it. We performed in Enfield better than we did when Barack Obama was on the ballot. We performed in Enfield. We outperformed Sherry Beasley's Senate race in Enfield. And all of a sudden, first they already were not giving us early voting sites. Now they closed the 2 polling locations and put us in one space. All that does is create bottleneck, chaos. It slows down the system. It slows down the system. Did they close a spot in Roanoke Rapids? They did. But who's affected by it? It's with precision. But guess what? The Supreme Court said, well, if they don't say in language directly that they're trying to exclude black voters, it's legal. Really? We are allowing states that were responsible for segregation, states that were guilty and required pre-clearance according to the Voting Rights Act. We are now allowing them to do whatever they want to. They closed the polling location at North Carolina A&T and UNCG, 2 of the most used polling locations in Guilford County. Gone for no other reason than those districts vote. Those polling locations are used by people who do not vote for Republicans. If I was playing football with you and I gave you a catcher who couldn't catch and couldn't run, and I gave myself Odell Beckham and Terrell Owens, and your football weighed 10,000 pounds, and my football was the perfect weight for an NFL football, how do you expect me to compete? How am I to win when you are stacking the deck in this way? They're not playing a game. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying politics is a game. I'm trying to use an analogy to point at how they are stacking the deck in their favor in ways that should be disgusting to everybody who cares about democracy, who cares about democratic principles. We should all be bothered by the fact that they closed for 20 counties Sunday voting because of souls to the poll, something that almost all people who participated were black people. This is what I'm trying to tell you. We are not in a safe space. Our democracy is failing us because we are not speaking up, and these people are calling us unprofessional for saying things about it. Saying things about it. Why, if your vote didn't matter, would they be acting in this manner? Why, if politics was pointless, would they be acting like this? Why? Why and also why is the only information but for the only demographic is target with information that the only demographic target with information that the vote don't count are black people. Why is that? Why are we the only people? Sunday voting is going in Nash County. If you live in Nash County, that's our neighbor. If you live in Nash County, actually, Enfield used to be a part of Nash County before it was a part of Halifax. We're the oldest town in Halifax. I know y'all heard me say that before. I like saying that. Nash County, you have no Sunday voting anymore. Harnett County, you have no more. Chatham, you have no more. Wayne, you have no more. Lee, you have no more. It's gone. Spring Lake, check where you vote at because they eliminated polling locations. Oxford, check where you vote at because they eliminated. UNCG, I already told you. ANTU, I already told y'all. But y'all already started the fight. Y'all know this, but just be on the lookout. Make sure that you've checked where you used to vote compared to where you're supposed to vote in this coming election because they're working to ensure that you don't or you can't or that you're complicated in the action of trying to. This is real life. And people that pretend that things don't have an effect, I want to talk to y'all about some local shit, so y'all can see what's going on and how people try to maneuver. And also, I want to show you what it means to not have the backs of the people. What just happened there? Sorry about that. To make sure that people that you have elected are speaking on your behalf or you know who they are. I want to show y'all something. I actually was having a conversation today with someone who I don't know. I was a post with someone sharing and agreeing with a post about what we need to do as it pertains to people need to speak up about how long our school board is in closed session, and also that we should just demand respect. First of all, closed session is supposed to be used like a surgical tool, not like a sledgehammer. We misuse closed session every month at our school board meeting. It is misused, and I can't wait till someone actually does a freedom of information request. I don't have the time right now, but maybe I call some people to do it because we need to know how is this legal when they've been told since 2015 you cannot continue to do this. Yet and still they do. But I was having someone was posting about this, and then this person, let me show y'all. This person right here, Sandra /Fleming said, I'm old and out of the loop, but as Halifax County School retiree, there's something that bothers me greatly. We all are biased. We are all biased to a certain point, be it culturally, racially, economically, or demographically. So with that in mind, look at the Halifax County School Board. 50% or greater of members live or grew up in a 5-mile radius of each other, with no representation from other areas. That matters when you view how decisions are made and how money is spent. It borders unethical for a community to run a school system. At large does not work. Now, this seems like a fairly open critique. Like it's a critique. It seems like an open critique to what is what this person. I think what it sounds like this person is against at-large district. And historically, black people get representation when we have district-specific like wards or precincts. That is a historical thing. But watch what happens when a point of clarification is asked from this person. I need y'all to watch when I respond to this asking for clarification. So in my post, here it is right here. I asked this person all this question because the sentiments. Let me go back to the first one. So it's saying, okay, as we can see under this, you see, I concur with your perspective. However, I think the percentages may even be higher from my understanding. A couple of members share the same household. Ms. Fleming said, I will admit that I have contacted the Board of Elections about what it would take to go towards. And she says the person name. Think about where your largest tax base in Halifax County is in terms of property tax. So we fund the mess they make. Listen to that statement. I need y'all to hear that statement. This person who posted the payment, first statement said, think about your largest tax base in Halifax County in terms of property tax. And then she says, we fund that mess. Basically saying that the largest tax base is funding disproportionately Halifax County school districts. This is important for people who are not in the county. Let me make it make sense for you. We have 3 school districts: Ronald Rapids Grade School District, then we have Weldon School District, and we have Halifax County School District. Majority of the people in Ronald Rapids, well, you know where they go to school. You guessed it, Ronald Rapids School District. It also should be spoken about why that school district exists. Why Weldon School District exists versus Halifax County School District. I digress. Let's stay focused. This person is suggesting that because Ronald Rapids is the largest tax base and they have no representation, that they are somehow being underrepresented or not represented. And they're also funding, remember that, funding the mess, talking about the school board. So in my response to this comment, I simply ask this person, are you suggesting, and I mean, you can see the comments right here. Let me unlock this so I can move it for y'all so y'all can see it. You can see, I as you all know, I'm long-winded. And so let me make sure I understand what you're saying. You believe Ronald Rapids should have more of a say in the school district where their children don't even really attend because of property tax. And what I mean by that, I just told y'all, majority of the people in Ronald Rapids, more than a majority, damn near everybody who lives in Ronald Rapids go to Ronald Rapids School District. Damn near. And you are playing coy to argue that fact. So, but saying that, you're saying that you believe that because Ronald Rapids pays more taxes to the county, then they also should have more say in a school district that is not even really where their kids are. What's the problem with this? The problem with it is, first of all, the people who represent Halifax County School District are representing overwhelmingly in the southern part of the county. That's where most of the students come from. Scotland Net, Hobgood, Enfield, Hollister, Medoc. That's the Halifax School District basically serves those spaces with the very few exceptions. Also, the idea that the property tax should determine if you have more say than me or anybody else that live in my district simply because you pay more taxes discounts the history of racism and why your property tax is worth more than mine. It was redlining that said the government would not back property in black communities. They would not give loans. Why does that matter? Because that's how the middle class was created in this country. Also, that wasn't 200 years ago or 100 years ago. That was recent. It is also a fact that our county continues to build infrastructure in spaces where there are more white people than black people, which also makes their property worth more. So when you talk about the value of your property should be the reason you have more to say, you're discounting the racism that made your property And you're also highlighting that racism that made your property worth more than ours. And what you're advocating for is taking power away from us so that y'all can have more power, which will in turn give you more say, which in turn would probably benefit your people more. Even though you know, and all of us know, that the kids from Roanoke Rapids don't really show up in Halifax County school districts in that way. It is illogical. It is an illogical argument. Furthermore, I go on to say that it is a misnomer to believe that county property tax is the real or significant funding for our school district. And I pointed out 73% of our funding for our school district comes from the state. 14% comes from the federal government, 10% from the county, and 3% from other revenues. Also, we should note that there's parts of our school district that Roanoke Rapids doesn't fund. And also Enfield, Scotland Neck, Hobgood also pay property taxes. And those property taxes also fund Weldon School District and Roanoke Rapids School District. But furthermore, with the logic that this person is saying, listen now, this person is saying that because someone pays taxes, they should have a say in the district's business, the school district business. Well, with that logic, you're also saying that Charlotte, Raleigh, Asheville, Boone, and everywhere else in the state should have a say, since the state funds the school district at 73%. So people from Asheville should be able to run for school district in Halifax because their tax dollars come down there? Should people in Enfield be able to tell the people in Asheville what their school district look like because our state dollars go over there? Should people in California, New York, and Houston, Texas have a say in our school district since their federal tax dollars come to North Carolina as well, like they do every other state? This is the illogical argument that's being made. That simply because your tax dollars are used to benefit other people. This line of thinking is dangerous. It's dangerous. So now let me point to y'all the second comment from this person. As soon as I point that out, this person wants to go here and say, that is not what I meant or said. What do you mean is not what you meant or said when you actually said, think about where the large property tax base is? What are you saying? What is being implied by the fact that you said that and then followed up saying our tax dollars is funding this mess? That's exactly what you said. And this is what I mean to you all. When people say I'm being problematic or I'm being controversial or I'm looking for an argument, it's because people do this very thing right here. You say something and then try to run it back when you get questioned about it. And then if you look at the last of the sentence, this person say, "Oh, I seek no attention nor arguments. I seek no attention nor arguments." This person said they seek no attention or no arguments. My suggestions is for those who are on the front lines now. Make your arguments count. Have them with those who seek to do you harm. Now, if you go back to this person's first post, remind you, they said they called the Board of Elections. They've already been in contact with the Board of Elections asking how to change the elections. So now you either do or you don't want to be a part of this conversation. It is backpedaling to the utmost. I don't want to, and the idea that they're seeking no argument. I said, I'm asking for clarification. I was not being disrespectful in my comment. This just goes to prove one thing, and I'm glad that the response happened. It does not matter how I respond to these people. They're going to find it offensive. If I'm cursing, if I'm talking and showing facts like I did in this post, there's not a single curse word in this post. I start out saying, let me make sure I understand what you are saying. And I ended it saying, again, I'm asking, is this what you are saying? Because I need clarification. The moment I ask that, I get charged up with looking for an argument or seeking attention. I need people to understand. Y'all continue to say that y'all don't give a damn about me. Y'all don't care what I got going on. But every time I say something to y'all for the shit y'all pull off, y'all got a problem. Or it's like, oh, everything ain't for Facebook. Everything ain't for Facebook. But the things that are for Facebook is all y'all with y'all BS. and me pointing it out to my people on how y'all show up. And also that's part of the reason I stay on live. I'm going to tell you why. Because you can't, you being me, I cannot wait on someone to cover my story and tell it. And I'm damn sure not willing to let y'all continue to tell the lies that y'all tell about me. I refuse to let the narrative that y'all put out, because the narrative y'all put out, I'm a dumb, loud, aggressive thug. None of y'all are going to ever say he's probably the most researched person ever to be elected in our county and he don't play games about his people. Oh, I'm sorry. Saying my people offend y'all too. I don't give a damn. I don't give a damn. Because y'all see that regardless of how I talk, these people find a way to have a problem with it. And that's what I've been telling y'all. These people are not concerned with my tone. They just want it shut the hell up. They want me silenced. This person started talking about, I served Halifax County Schools for more than a half of my life. I'm glad for that. Then she said she's a product of it as well. And her daughter, she served the Democratic Party in multiple capacities. I didn't question this person's bona fides at all. Y'all go look at my comments. I didn't question this person's bona fides at all. I'm simply telling you that what you put forth as a logical argument is lacking foundation. So I don't understand why you put your resume up there, or you need the resume, and then try to end it with as if I'm seeking attention. I don't think you all know who I am. That is not said to be an asshole or anything, but I need y'all to get past this idea that I'm seeking attention. I'm talking to my people. The Daily Herald, Run R&R Spin, WRAL, nor WITN. None of those outlets get more views from the black people in the district that I need to talk to than I do talking directly to my people. So what do you want me to do? Pay for an article, beg someone to cover me who will never cover me in a positive light? Is that what you would have me sit silent until someone decides to cover my story? That makes no sense to me. That sounds crippling. That's how y'all control the narrative. And if you're talking about attention, guys, I don't have a problem with attention. This is not a green screen. Somebody thought it was a green screen. I really am who I say I am. I didn't get invited to the White House I don't have a name tag at the White House when it's a reasonable administration because of my work in infield. I have a name internationally. I am not in the Hall of Fame for the Negro College Fund Hall of Fame because I'm a mayor of infield. I am in the Negro Hall of Fame not for sports, but for what I do across this country for black people. What I've done across this world for black people. I am not in the Honda All-Star, Campus All-Star Hall of Fame because I'm a mayor of infield. I am because of my work nationally. So you all trying to pretend that attention is what I'm seeking. It's ridiculous. I'm talking to my people in a way that people have never shared information with them so that they will not be walking around here blind, thinking that it's okay not to be woke. I don't win or didn't win awards or that award for not doing work on behalf of my people. That award, that award, that award, that award, that award, that award. None of them came from anything I did at infield. None of it is from the work I do in infield. But y'all continue to think it's about my story. Will not be told by any of y'all. I will always, as long as I can cut the lights on and I can speak and breathe, you will hear my point of view on politics and policies that affect my people in a negative way. You will not shut me up in that manner. And that bothers y'all because y'all are used to a certain type of Negro who's willing to play games at the expense of their people just to keep getting invited back. I don't even want the invitation. Your table is not inviting to me. Your table is not inviting to me. If your table does not serve equity beside everything else, I'm not hungry for it. I definitely break bread with white people, but they're not at the expense of being black. Not so they can sit around and make Negro jokes. Not so they can sit around and talk about my people. Not so they can sit around and make deals that exclude my people or leave my people behind. So my base level, my foundation for friendship is that you have to understand that my blackness is not on the table for chopping. Equity must be a part of who you are to be in conversation, in relationship with me, friendship, business, or otherwise. Or every time you see me or hear me, you're going to have a problem with what I have to say. It's going to sound very much like I'm talking about you, because I am talking about you if you behave and show up like a tool of white supremacy. And that includes black people that show up like tools of, I should say, black and other people, not just white people, black and other people who show up as tools of white supremacy, who would rather have my people sit silently starving, physically and also proverbially, than to have me speaking up on their behalf. They would tell you, oh, he hates white people. Hold on. I get it. I grew up a certain age. Y'all might know National Lampoon Vacation or whatever. Every year I get a Christmas card from the Chevy Chase family because of my work. Every year, whole family, including the dog, wishing me Merry Christmas, me and my wife. Every year, handwritten card from the wife. Every year, because those white people care about equity. It is not the people who don't care about equity got a problem with me, regardless of their color. Since y'all want to know, where's my key? I'm since y'all think I hate white people. Dr. Biden, right there. Candles for Christmas with my name on them. I don't hate white people. I hate racists. And that's y'all problem. Y'all refuse to separate the two. Y'all don't want to talk about the fact that there's a difference. And I've never sold my people out. And I will never sell my people out. That's why y'all rather make the conversation about my tone than what I'm saying, because you know the substance, the sustenance is real. And rather than you saying, and you could be the you whoever, and rather y'all say, he's right. There's no place, or there should be no place in America. There should be no place in a majority black county for where we exclude the blackest town in that county from participating in negotiation. People are gonna tell me, "Oh, you negotiate too hard," or nobody. That's not how you negotiate. How do you negotiate? How do you negotiate if you're not standing up for what you believe and what you think? You think businesses are just going to come in and play nice with you? Did Mundell create the term social espionage or corporate espionage? I'm sorry. Did I create that term? Corporate espionage? Am I responsible for that? Do you even know what that is? Since business is so nice. Y'all, we are obligated to speak up in this moment. This is not the 50s or the 40s or the 30s or the 20s or the 1890s. But the only reason it isn't is because we have enough technology that we can shine the light on what's happening to our people. And history will judge us on how well we did that. What did we say that future generations can see or map out when it starts to try to happen again in their lives? What will be the story told about you in this moment for people who are marginalized, people that are suffering because of institutions don't see their humanity or don't believe that they deserve equity? Where will you be in the history books? And your name don't need to be there for you to be in the history books. Because if you say, oh, I did this, I was a part of that movement, then you are a part of that history, whether people know it or not. So in 2026, in the year of our Lord, people need to be prepared to answer that question every time they see themselves in the mirror. When you're brushing your teeth, you should start your day with which side of history will you be on? They are making it clear how they feel. They are making it clear how they feel. And we have a party, our party, the Democratic Party, that's not doing its part in this moment. They continue to show that they fall short and continue to fall short by prioritizing things that are not black. The rejection of our politics in 2024 should have put everybody on alarm that the way that we do things were failing people. What we were doing was not enough to engage people to the polls. It's not that we were losing people to the other party, but we were losing people to the couch. Their idea of what they expected was not in the way the party looked. Now we see something different in these super progressive people. We just watched Angie Nixon win the Democratic nomination in Florida for Senate without any establishment help. They actually moved somebody, a white man from Virginia, to go up there and run against her. She whooped him, 160 plus thousand votes. A state the size of Florida, that woman won that campaign, the primary, without any help from the party. Because their definition of electability did not include a single what was or who was a black woman who used to be a single mother with natural hair, who speaks her mind, who is not afraid to stand up to the police and get locked up in front of where she was serving in the state legislature. From Duval County. She didn't match what they were looking for. Said in Michigan does not match what they're looking for. Mamdani does not match what they're looking for. So what they're telling you is that, oh, black people got a problem with these progressives. You want to know why? Because that's going to be the next fight. They already did and mastered black women and black men don't get along. So now they've moved on to the new fight. The new fight is black people don't like progressives. Mamdani did everything he said he was going to do. Not everything, but he's only been in office like 6-7 months. And he's done a lot of it. The things that they said he couldn't do, he did. He taxed the ultra rich who had second houses in New York. And guess what? He closed it. Got the deal done. Got that money. Rent freezes. Said he was going to do it, did it. Everything they said he couldn't do, he's doing. And he's not like the party where it took them 40 and 50 years to get it done. He did it in 6 or 7 months in the largest city, probably in the world, in New York. New York is an international city. What's up, Pinkerbell? Welcome to the party. I don't understand how we are pretending that we don't see this moment requires something louder than status quo, something louder than milquetoast candidate. We need radical recognition for policies that are going to save people's lives and candidates that are not afraid to say it out loud. Anything else is going to fall short. And it's going to put you on the wrong side of history. So we should all be out here making sure that our fight is not against each other. It's no black hating progressive conversations that's going to win anything for us. Black people are progressive. The idea that we should be free is a progressive thought. The idea that people should be able to afford food, people should have a house, people should have health care without it breaking their bank, without it cost them anything, should not be radical, should not even be considered progressive. It should just be the normal. But we've been tricked into believing that the system in which we operate is the only system. It's not. Every other developed nation in this world has free health care. Except for us. And we have the worst healthcare outcome. We are spending more. This president has done away with, has used on Iran, and we're still losing this war. He's used on Iran half of the world's supply of Patriot missiles. This is not an easy thing to reproduce. But in his war of choice, this president has used half of the world's supply, and also the ones that he's given Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu, who is a war criminal, who's been charged, and there's a warrant out for him. But America would never arrest him because it's America. So I'm asking you all, don't just let people say things that we know we need for our soul and for equity. It is dangerous for us to pretend that this level of ridiculousness should exist anywhere in our country. We should never. It should never. It couldn't be. It can't be. If we are to move forward and beyond this point, we are required to do more. And people speaking up on behalf of white supremacy, trying to silence our youth, should be called out for it. And I want to call somebody out for that. This is a county commissioner in North Carolina, in Halifax County, North Carolina. This student at the time is now on the Board of Elections. She was showing people on her timeline, on her Facebook page, as a college student, the moment Silent Sam fell down on the college campus of UNC. Silent Sam, for people who don't know, was a statue donated to the University of North Carolina from the Daughters of Confederacy. Daughters of the Confederacy are the people who are responsible for all, or damn near all, of the statues, the Confederate statues around the country. Around the country. They made sure that these statues were funded and paid for because they were super rich women from the South whose sons, husbands, fathers fought in the Confederate soldier and lost. They fought in the Confederate War and lost. So they wanted to keep their memory alive, putting up these monuments all over the country. So anyway, this person, I guess, had a memory today, so it popped back up on their timeline. And on their timeline, they wrote, I'm so geeked out. I want to see what people's response is to this post from this child who at the time was a child, or I should say a teenager, on college campus. Before I tell you about some of these responses, and one in particular, I don't even know if people really know. Do we know who the Daughter of Confederacy is? The Daughters of Confederacy, UDC, the United Daughters of Confederacy. That is not this. We should not just breeze over this because people just think this is a group of women, but they were politically powerful because some of those generals, all of the generals from the Confederates, weren't killed. Those who lived still had significant influence in the South. People forget after they made the compromise and they left the South, The Confederates basically took back over under a different auspice. The United States government became the auspice. They took back the land from the people who actually got it for the 40 acres and from the 40 acres and a mule. That was the field order. The Klan grew. They took power. They overthrew the Wilmington government. They did all of the things that they wanted to do to reinstate. They created prison and convict leasing programs. I use convict because that's their language, not because it's mine. They did all of these things, and the Confederate daughter of the Confederacy was part of this. So their legacy is more than just putting up these monuments. You may hear people say all the time when you're talking about the Confederate War, they're talking about the lost cause narrative. The Daughters of the Confederates has a lot to do with that. They have a lot to do with that because they made sure that Southern schools taught that it was a part of the curricula. They also made sure that you could not talk trash about the KKK. You could not talk trash about the Civil War. What's up, Stacy? And you could not talk trash about anybody who died fighting on behalf of the Confederate States of America. That was part of their curriculum. And they taught the lost, if you don't know what the lost cause is, the lost cause narrative says that, and you hear a lot of white people who believe in the Confederacy speak this, that, oh, the war was not about slavery. It was about Northern aggression. They were being, Northerns were trying to replace their way of life. They had so much. Type in UDC, the United Daughters of Confederacy influence on school books, and your mind will be blown that some of the stuff that they taught or they had put in school books or stuff that they wouldn't allow be taught, and how it still has an effect and how it's taught even up to recent. And in some places it's still being taught. How do you think you forget that? They had nothing. The United Daughters of Confederates, people were like, oh, it was about heritage and not hatred. And it's like, how is your heritage that you need to fight to own me and my people? And that's not about hatred. And I already went over, y'all saw me go over the Mississippi doctrines, North Carolina. Y'all already know how I feel about that. It is a pointless argument to try to have that conversation with me when we know the facts, when we know that they simply wanted to own people. And that's why they separated, because the northern states were not sending people back when they escaped from slavery. They didn't just preserve or seek, talking about the UDC, the University Daughters of Confederacy, they didn't just seek to preserve history. They helped manufacture a different version of history that made white people look like heroes for trying to own and kill my people, and also for committing acts of treason. They turned treason into history. Enslavers into heroes, and black freedom into villain. And that is not disconnected from this comment, which is why I need you to hear it and let me explain it to you. If you all look right here, let me unlock it so you can see it. I'm gonna zoom in a little bit. So anyway, like I said, this is this young lady celebrating the fact that Silent Sam had fallen. She posted some videos. You can hear people chanting and all of that. But this person right here said this. Chenoa Davis is now the vice chair of Halifax County Board of Directors, Commissioners. She is a county commissioner, which is like the board member. She's a board member of a large corporation. She's a woman of color. And this is what she said to this other woman of color. As a fellow native Tar Heel. Now listen, before I break down this comment, let me just read the whole comment. As a fellow native Tar Heel, I would like to encourage my fellow minority brothers and sisters to make their presence on campus known in a more positive more positive way. For example, the beautiful walkway called the gift. What's wrong with this statement? First of all, she signifies that she's a native Tar Heel. So for some people, you may think she's talking about she's from North Carolina. She's a native North Carolinian. But this person, if you know this person, then you know this person is also Native American. So is she saying to this other person who is Elizabeth Silver, who is part Native American, but her father is also part black? So is she saying to this young part black and part Native sister that your behavior is not positive? Celebrating the fall of a Confederate monument is not positive. Also, is she saying that natives should not be involved in issues that bother or are oppressive to black people? This is important because this person, like I said, this person is a county board of directors. So I asked this person, what did she mean by that? I've not heard a response, but we got a meeting next week. I intend on asking her at the meeting. We have a meeting next week. This person goes up to and stands with the governor. I wonder if the governor feels this way too. Should I ask Josh Stein people when they invite Commissioner Davis to stand in the governor's mansion? Is it because they believe what she believes about black people? And that we should not be fighting to get rid of Confederate monuments because it's not positive? And they should be doing more things that are more positive, like walking on something else, some damn walkway that's not connected to this fight. And for anybody that can't do math, I'm going to do it for you. 2016 minus 8. 2016 minus 8. George Floyd was killed. That's what was going on. That's the moment at which she thought it was comfortable to say that we need to be doing something more positive. She's saying you should not be partaking. I asked you all. I ask you all, what would they say about you in history? What would you be doing? She's saying at this moment, because she didn't say it last week, she said it when it happened. You see it. She said it when it happened 8 years ago. She said it. That people need to be doing something more positive. So when in the height of us fighting, when black people are being killed left and right, in the height of that, all of the people who were killed between 2016 and 2020 whatever to now, her response was do something more positive. What's more positive than fighting for equity? Commissioner Davis. Here's the crazy part. I'm going to need an answer. I'm going to need a real answer from this question, and I'm going to tell you why I'm going to need an answer. Commissioner Davis is running for re-election right now. Commissioner Davis is running for re-election right now in a county that is majority black. And if she believes that it is not a positive move to stand up for black people on a college campus, does that also translate to how she celebrates and vote? Because she's not been a champion of infield. She's not been a champion of infield. We've seen her. So I don't have friends or enemies when it comes to politics. I have disagreements with people based on policy and behavior. I disagree vehemently with the idea that it is not positive for someone in college at UNC, the flagship school of this state, to be standing up and celebrating the fact that Silent Sam, a monument for Confederate soldiers, fell down. My people in my county need to understand. And we need to hear from Commissioner Davis. Is her position that black equity is not positive? And if that's not her position, can she please clarify what she meant and means? Because that statement is still alive. What did she meant? What did she mean? And what does she mean? What do she mean? What does? Who cares? I don't give a damn about the English language. What is meant by her statement? How about that? We need to know. We are owed that. It is election year, and we should move past the point of just voting people into office who have no business saying they represent us. And I believe wholeheartedly that if we started unelecting some incumbents who don't stand up for us, the world would be forced to listen to what we are screaming about. And for those who would wish to redraw districts in a way that prevent us from having access to the ballot, keep trying. We're still coming. Keep trying. We're still coming. And I promise you, I'm going to ask the questions. And people that saw my last election, you know, I'm going to ask the question and over and over and over again until I get the answer. What do you mean doing something more positive than standing up for black equity? From watching Confederate monuments fall. And I'm going to ask my people if they know you said that. I screenshot that post and I saved it as my favorite picture. I'm going to show people around the county so that they can ask you, Commissioner Davis, what you mean by that? So the best thing is to give us an answer quick as possible, because we're going to have questions. We're going to have questions. We're going to need to know where you stand on black equity and how you can show us through policy that you are not a person who believes that standing up against racism is an unpositive thing and that walking on a walkway is equal. The gift. She should be walking on a damn walkway called a gift when they were tearing down a Confederate monument. You didn't think you are the people. This statement, I don't know you personally. We've had a few conversations. And I voted for you. And I voted for you. And I voted for you. So, I want to know, what did you mean by that? What do you mean by that? What do you mean by that? People need to know. We are a majority black county. And you ain't showing up for us right now. You ain't showing up on our behalf right now. You're on that board, and your proximity to whiteness has made you lose your damn mind. You need to speak to the people and let us know what's going on. My fellow minority brothers and sisters, the gift. You told them they should be on a gift. Can I tell you something? Freedom was not a damn gift. So why you wanted them to go celebrate something called the gift? They were out there fighting, trying to get us closer to equity. The gift. I got a gift. The gift is that our ancestors got us here, and it's our job to keep us going. The gift is not that you sit silent when people are working to get people closer to equity and freedom. Do you know the history of AIM? Do you know AIM's relationship to the Black Panthers? The American Indian Movement? Do you know them? Chenoa Davis, Commissioner Davis? Do you know who the American Indians movement was? Do you know how radical those people fighting for freedom, hand in hand, arm in arm with the Black Panthers? Do you know that history? Do you know? Do you know these people were there? Do you know them? Are we being serious? Come on, man. I can't. Do you? When? Do you know why Seminole is not a real Seminole is a tribe that was based out of Creek Indians from Georgia. They were called Seminole, which in Creek means runaway. You know why they ran away? Because when white people said you got to give those Negroes back to Georgia when they would run away, they refused to give black people back to slavery. So they became the Seminole Indians in Florida, the runaways who wouldn't give black people over to slavery. Do you know that? And I ain't talking about some far off history. AIM was formed in 1968, right around the time with the Panthers. Indigenous activists. Dennis Bank. Come on now. I got pictures. Do I got pictures? What about Clyde Bellecourt? Huh? Mitchell? You know what I'm talking about? Vernon Bellecourt? No? You don't know these people? Then maybe you should invest in understanding the relationship between Native and Black people and shared suffering from a thing called American racism. And never tell a young person standing up on behalf of Black and Brown and wherever she finds herself on that spectrum to do something better than be out there with those people. Black Power movement, Red Power movement, Chicano movement. You know this history? This is the history of communities that are oppressed, not actually taking the line of white supremacy, but telling the truth. The Trail of Broken Treaties, 1972. Do you remember that? You remember that? When young Native folk went to DC, that's your life. 1972, you were alive. That's your life. People, young people, Native people went to DC and they occupied the Bureau of Indian Affairs and demanded what was theirs. Made America honor its treaties. They didn't do that by going to walk on the gift. They didn't go to DC to go to the national monuments. They went there to demand something. Y'all want to render these young people useless and pointless. And why? Why? Because they might upset your things? What y'all got going on? Wounded Knee happened in 73. You know Wounded Knee happened. What happened in 78 when this country threatened Native American brothers and sisters' sovereignty? You know the longest walk, the year before I was born? You remember that? When people actually walked? Come on, man. You telling a young, as you said, fellow Native, Tar Heel? The fact that you would tell someone who is of Native descent to go celebrate what white people built that's nice and pretty and not stand up for sovereignty and blackness is counter to the entire idea that people, the aim the American Indian movement was fighting for. The idea that Native Americans are not just another minority. It is their homeland at which they are being treated like aliens. This is their land, your ancestors' land. And this government is making treaties and deals and other people rich at our expense and your expense. And you're telling this young person to be silent. Commissioner Davis, I want to know why you said that. And if that's how you feel. Because it makes it real hard for me to understand what's going on. I can't, for the life of me, swallow what's going on. I can't. These people want us to not. The best thing they can do is continue to miseducate us so that we don't understand that we were always somehow connected. Progressive white people. We had the most radical person, according to J. Edgar Hoover. One of them was Fred Hampton, who they killed sleeping in his bed when he was like 20, 21 years old. Shot this man dead multiple times in his bed. He built the Rainbow Coalition, not the Jesse Jackson Rainbow Coalition. He had Chicano. He had the Native Americans. He had rednecks from the mountains, from Appalachia. Yeah, all of these groups working for one thing, equity for everybody. People suffering against this system. But now we're in 2026. Our comfort has allowed us to make sure that we don't challenge anything that the system say is right. So when I challenge America for violating its constitutions, its constitutions, both the federal one and the ones at the state level. When I challenge counties for violating their charters or doing things that are sneaky, making deals behind the back of small and black and brown towns, when I call out politicians for not doing what they're supposed to do, I'm acting in the air. I'm acting in the same space that American Indian movement partner with Black Power, partner with Chicano Power, partner with the white guys from the mountains who stood and said, we will challenge America on its sovereignty because America is making treaties and deals for other people's lives on their sovereignty. At the expense of people who it has always been at the expense of, including poor white people, including Native people, and especially Black people. I've had a long day, y'all. But I'm gonna leave y'all with a thought. I need y'all to understand that as long as we sit silent about what's happening to us, sorry about that. As long as we sit silent about what happened to us and is happening to us, they're gonna continue to make it happen to us. The hardest thing to allow this level of dysfunction to continue is to point it out, to call it out. Let us be mindful. That there is no safe space for any of us as long as we allow people to question our motives when we're speaking up and speaking often about our people. There's no safe space for any of us as long as we allow people to silence the youth from standing up against the oppression that hurts them and others. There's no victory for those of us fighting on behalf of equity when we allow suffering to become the norm and we say nothing about it. I'm Mundell Robinson, y'all. I'm the mayor of Enfield, my hometown. Y'all be great. Have a good evening, but not before you think about it.